Lord, yes, papi. Hit me one time and make it funky.
I was brought up and told to have no fear. I was brought up and told to have no fear. I was brought up and told to have no fear.
Welcome to the Full Circle Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, David Roberts, along with the OG Dr. Neil Holmes. Missing today is the oral historian, Andre Taylor. We have a special guest with us, Mr. Richard Larde II, former NCAA athlete, sports agent, and now coordinator of combines for young men that are looking to fulfill their football dreams. Brother Larde, welcome, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Neil and David for having me. I appreciate it.
Hey man, glad you were able to join us today. Let's get right into it. When we had Dr. Curtis Williams on, and he was someone you played football with at Akron, and part of his story, he started talking about how he learned that he had been exploited as an athlete, and that's kind of what led him down his career path. And I know I talked to several of your teammates back in the day who did feel like they were being exploited, but exploited in a way that they also had an opportunity. Looking back, do you feel you were exploited when you were an athlete or football player at Akron U, or the University of Akron, I should say?
Absolutely. You learn as you grow and you mature, and you reflect back on some of the things that you've done, places you've been, and you think about that situation. It definitely was exploitation. You have all these schools, they're just making all this revenue and things off these athletes, and you're getting nothing. I mean, I'm not discounting, the education and things that you're getting, but in the bigger scheme of things, absolutely, you're being exploited. I mean, they only want you to play sports. I can't honestly say when I sat in some of the classrooms that a professor really had an interest in me. But if they found out you were on a football team or track team or basketball team or something like that, then they want to be on your coattail, right? Mm-hmm. But other than that, you're nothing. I mean, we worked hard. We were with them almost like 7 days a week. And then when the season was over with, you're involved with them almost 7 days a week, because they want you up in the morning. They want you to do study table. They want you to go to this meeting. They want you to go to that, all the way up until May, almost to the end of April when spring ball ended, right? Mm-hmm. And you get a couple months off and you're right back at it. So absolutely. But I'll tell you a secret that you may not know, David. And I found out just by chance. Mm-hmm. So there were guys on the team that were getting paid back then. And the only reason I found out is because one day we were coming out the caf, and one of the coaches walked by, gave him an envelope, and he stuck it in his back pocket. So I'm walking in back of him. It falls out of his pocket. I pick it up. I open it up. There's nothing but money in there. I was like, wow. I was like, well, I know who's the beer on tonight. I ain't gonna say nothing, but here's your envelope. But I know where I'll be at later on tonight.
Right. That's interesting because, back then, 87, 88, whatever that year probably was, that was so taboo. Now people are talking about, why don't we pay college athletes? What do you think about that?
So I really think there is an opportunity for them to get paid. A lot of people talk about the kneel, right? They feel that the kneel is the answer. Well, I'm going to definitely disagree with that, because the kneel is not the answer. People really don't understand how the kneel works, right? if you think about your professional football teams right now, any team you want to think of, or any NBA team or baseball team or whatever, do you think all of those athletes on the team have a marketing deal?
No.
No, sir.
Right.
They don't. So what makes you think that every athlete that plays college sport, that plays a college sport, is gonna have a NIL deal? That's not how it works, right? That's not how it works. And 1 second, I lost you. Hold on, sorry. Yeah, that's not how it works, right? So you have these parents, you have these relatives of these kids, you know, they heard about the NIL and they think everybody's going to get a big paycheck. There's already, so right now, everything is kind of in a flux, but I'm anticipating that the NCAA is going to come out with something, I'm going to say probably before the summer is out. I can't really see them going into the fall because there are so many people treating this so many different ways, right? So there are some schools that have a NIL policy. There are states that have NIL policy, and there are some that don't, right? So some schools don't have a policy, some states don't have a policy. It's all over the place. And there are individuals that already have deep pockets, like some of the bigger schools, that are taking advantage of it. Case in point, there's a school out west, all right? What they did was they had their boosters create an LLC. Guess what? LLC is a company. I have one. We can hire all these players on the team to work for our LLC. Here's $100,000 each. NCAA has to do something about that. Think about all the smaller schools that don't have that type of alumni, don't have those deep pockets. It won't work. And secondly, where the parents and the relatives don't really understand is that because it's NIL, it don't necessarily mean money. It could be something that has monetary value, right? Mm-hmm. But it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get money. I know a person, I had someone approach me about helping them with their NIL. This is a female, great athlete. And someone introduced me to them. And so I started reading the language in the contract that the school has. It's a Big Ten school, right? And I was like, wow. So you know that they're gonna have language that favors the school. That's a no-brainer, right? But she's been getting NIL contracts, but all of them haven't been for money. Where are our jersey? Where are our top? Where are our shorts? Mm-hmm. I don't want your shorts. I don't want your socks. Write me a check. Right. But that's not how it doesn't work like that. And then, you know, on the other end, there are going to be people that get some of these NIL deals, opportunity to make some money, that may not be the best athlete on the team, right? They have a huge social media presence, right? And they're like an influencer. So of course there may be some companies that want to, you know, tag along and be like, hey, you're an influencer, show our product. We just came out with these new golf shirts and we got a L on them. Like, wear this and show this on to all your people that are connected with you on social media. So the NIL is not leveling the playing field. There are going to be some athletes that capitalize on it, and there are going to be many that's not going to get a dollar on it. I mean, one person for sure that I know has made some significant money on NIL is Shedeur Sanders, Deion's son. Oh, he has some good NIL contracts. He's making good money. But I seen another kid, right? And don't laugh when I say this, but don't hold your seat, Dr. Neal. He got a Church's Chicken NIL deal.
Oh yeah.
So it's all over the board, man. But I just wish some of the parents and some of the family members would just understand, because they all going into this like, my son or whatever, we finna get paid. They're gonna be highly disappointed. That's not how business work. These businesses are not getting ready to go to everybody on the football team. I don't care if you play at Michigan, Ohio State, wherever. Everybody's not gonna have a deal. And even if you do, it may not. It may just be some products. It may just be a service. It's not gonna be a check.
Right.
Yeah. I had kind of two questions really. The first one is you talk about the money aspect of exploitation, how athletes are really raising all this money. And one of the things I learned in academic world, they tell you right early, is that if you want to build buildings on a campus, you have to have a good football team. That's how buildings get built. That's how the science buildings get built, and the engineering buildings get built sometimes. Uh, but in addition to the money part, I remember, that after 2 o'clock, the athletes belong to the team. You have to do weight room and all of that. But that's about the same time you have student activities going on, meetings of student activities. How does that factor into feeling like a full part of the campus?
Oh, so Dr. Neal, I don't think you ever had an opportunity to feel like a full part of the campus. You're always tied up. I mean, I'll just say this. So after 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, they don't want you taking no classes
Right.
until like maybe at night. At night? What do you mean at night? Yeah, after dinner, or don't eat dinner. Go to class, right? You can't do what all the other students doing because you got to go to class, or you got to go to study hall, right? And what it does is there are some kids that want to major in certain majors, right? So they'll get to the academic environment. You can't do this. This is too hard. You can't do this and play football. So some young men are deterred, and women are deterred from even chasing their dreams from the beginning, because they are convincing them that they can't do it. Like, no, you can't be a computer science major and play football. No, they make them take some of those classes that are irrelevant, right? To try to keep them eligible, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when it's time to finish or graduate or what have you, they got a gym degree and they can't get a job. So you definitely miss out on things, because you always in something. You always got to be somewhere. And the other kids are doing all the activities on campus and what have you. You miss out on a lot. You do.
Yeah. Now the other question is, what happens to the kids? And I was going to say part of this for your combine portion, but what happens to the kids from some of those smaller schools, or the kids who don't even get into even a college of any type, who've spent their whole life pee-wee football or whatever, or trying to trace this dream, or the HBCUs? I've spent my last 20 odd years at HBCUs, and what about those kids who are not in a D1 program, or in a program, HBCU, that's not getting that media attention? What happens to them? How do they get noticed?
Well, I mean, so as far as from any sport, all the professional teams have what they call scouts, right? And they are going around the country looking for talent. That's what they say, right? But their focus, is on the big schools, the big dollars, the media, the marketing, the name. Because the the more you have one of those commentators saying one person's name, so it gets ingrained in somebody's mind that, oh, they must be good, which is not always true, right? Because I attend a lot of the HBCU games now, and there's definitely some talent out there, talent that's overlooked. I think that it's still, at the end of the day, right? It's still about the old boy network at the end of the day. And you got these coaches, I don't even want to say their name, the Alabamas, the Clemsons, you know, they still connected with these guys at these teams, right? And you need to see Charles, you need to see John, you need to see, there's other players besides them, right? Go down to Jackson State and see what Dion got. Well, they're gonna be coming down here now, but go to Mississippi Valley State, go to A&M, go to North Carolina A&T, go to TSU, go to all those schools, right? Because what you'll find is that you probably will see someone better, right? But they'll downplay it. Oh, well, he didn't play against Texas A&M, or oh, he did, or oh, they only won 4 games, or oh, they'll keep looking for reasons, right, not to pursue those guys. I'm hoping that this is going to change. Just to give you an example, they threw us a, and I say us, I'm talking about us as Black folks. They threw us a nugget this year. Oh, we're going to give you your own combine. They call it the HBCU combine. They had it a few weeks ago. Why do you have to do that? Why we got to be separate, you know, afterthought, right? Why we can't be at the combine in Indy where everybody else is at so we can participate? We already know there's going to be some of us that's going to outshine your top boys there, right? And that's what you don't want. That's what you're afraid of. That's just like the college Division I playoffs. It's only 4 teams, right? They don't want to expand that, because guess what? On any given Saturday, Alabama might get exposed. You got 24 teams, 16 teams. You don't know what happened on the 3rd week when they got to play in the playoffs, or somebody went down, or somebody get hurt. They can't put that in big bold print that Alabama got beat. So that's why they just keep it to 4. They know they only got to win one or 2, and they're in the championship. They don't want that. There's too much money involved in that. It's all about the money. It's all about the money. So if you got a guy that's playing every Saturday, and his name is being, you know, tossed around, he's this, he's that, and that, but there's another guy down at a smaller D2 school, D3 school, they barely getting 1,000 people in the stands. They can't say we drafted him in the 2nd round and expect for the crowd to follow. That's in their mindset. That's how they think. That's how they think. And then when you got these scouts, you know, oh, you go into a front office of an NFL club. There's John's son, there's their cousin, there's the neighbor's son, he working there too. The dad been there 32 years. Network. They got a network. And it's hard to penetrate that network.
Now that's a good segue into what the other piece I want to talk about, or one of the other pieces. You're doing your own combines now, right? Your own combines that go throughout the country. How did that come about?
So way back in, it's been a long time ago. So David, when I lived in Atlanta, I started coaching football down there, right? And I started with the little kids. And then I kind of worked my way up to middle school, and I became the head coach at one of the middle schools down there. And while working at that level, the parents would always say, There's nothing offered at this level. There's nothing offered at this level. There's nothing offered at. So that kind of like stayed with me like over the years. And I started seeing things appear at that particular level, like at the middle school level, right? And I was like, you know what? I want to get in. I want to do something for the kids at that level, but I wanted mine to be a little different. Um, Most of the things you'll see out there right now is um, they call it a showcase. And the kids are, you know, running around with each other, doing maybe doing Pascali or whatever. It's not exactly what I'm doing. So what I'm doing is I'm only focusing on a combine, right? So it's replicated just like the NFL combine, right? I wanted to give it to them at that level, and I want them to do same type of drills. I'm doing everything electronically. Yep. I'm using the same equipment. I have the same equipment that they're using at the combine, right? So no one can question the results. But at the end of my combine, at the end of the day, when we finish, we have another session, right? Where we talk about life skills, where I'm bringing in a nutritionist. We are going to talk about NEAL and what that means. We're going to talk about academic advisement, okay? We're going to talk about academics, what it takes. You're in the 8th grade, seventh grade, what it takes in high school, you know, how many credits you need. Where do you, you know, what level you need to be on to the guide for you to go to college if you want to play D1 or what have you. So I want to feed them the real information. And then also I'm going to have a professional athlete speaking as well. So I'm going to give them the on the field piece, but also they're taking away the life skill piece as well, right? So I want them to be well equipped when they leave one of my combines. And then I'm taking their results and I'm sending it to the high schools around the country that recruit players, okay? And then I'm also sending them to colleges as well. And the reason I'm doing that is because they're starting to make offers. They're just offers. They're making offers to young men in the 8th grade. Mm-hmm. And so I want to be a part of that. And I want to make sure they have the information, the correct information at a young age, and they can take that and maybe get them in the right direction. So now I got to do a selfless plug. My combines are called rl2combines.com. RL, the number 2, combines with an S.com. So we're traveling across the country, and you know, we're gonna give them everything that we have. I want them to have a great experience. Definitely gonna be professional. They're not gonna see nothing like this. It's gonna be you know, the top. I'm gonna have the top everything for them, rolling out the red carpet for them, and I have some great venues in Cleveland. I'm doing it at Notre Dame College. Have some great venues, where, you know, good fields and things like that. So yeah, I'm doing the registration now, but also, David, I have another plan, right? So I'm grooming them now, right? So once they get to college or get close to going to college, whatever, I want to keep in contact with these young men. You know, they probably come to me for questions and things like that, right? So I want to be able to help them enter into that market. And then, you know, some of them might excel a little further, and I still want to be a part of, you know, what they're doing. So I'm going from here all the way up to if they want to try to, you know, play at the next level.
Okay, that's great, and that's great. And we are masters of the shameless plug. We were gonna ask you that anyway, you know, because we bring nothing but, you know, positive people on here that are doing things for the community. So we always say, give us the website, give us the information, you know, so that our viewers and everything, you know, can get it.
Right.
Dr. Holmes, did you have another question before we switch gears?
Yeah, I had a, now some of those high draft pick guys are beginning to, I guess, avoid the combines. You know, they're not going to the combines now. So is that going to open stuff up for other people?
So I don't know if it will open things up. So what they always do is they usually invite about 340 kids or whatever, right? There's no limit to the number of people that they can invite. They can invite as many people as they want. They go 6-7 days. You can, you know what I mean? I mean, you can invite more people if you want to, right? So it's solely and totally up to them, but they can invite more people. And you're right, some people are not participating in that because if you're a high draft pick, right? Even a draft pick, period, right? Now you got to start looking at things from a different lens. You got to start thinking from a business perspective, right? So just say, hypothetical, I go to the combine, I tear my hamstring or something. I'm done. If I'm a high draft, my stock on drop. Case in point, guy last week, Michigan. He was at his pro day at Michigan. It's a video out there on the internet. He was doing a drill, running side to side, towards Achilles. He going, I mean, that's just a 6-month rehab right there. You know what I mean? Who knows? Is somebody even going to be interested in drafting him now? I mean, I think he was a linebacker. I mean, come on, you can find a linebacker, and like you got to just wait on this one. So he did that at his pro day. It was bad, man. I watched it. Saw him fall towards Achilles. So yeah, now you have to take calculated risk, right? You got to think about the business aspect of, all right, if I do this, what happens? If I get hurt, you know, it could be the end, or, you know, in some cases, you know, if you're a high draft pick, they can drop you down to a lower pick, you know, and that's less guaranteed money. So, yeah, it all depends. Now, I know a lot of them are not playing in those like postseason games and things like that. They're like, no, I'm not I'm not playing in that. And a lot of them, they're meaningless. So
Right.
So why even, you know, I don't even know why Division I still has all those ball games, because you get a stadium, they show you a piece of the stadium with 300 people sitting there where they stands with their fans, their moms and dads or whatever, and the whole rest of the stadium is empty on a lot of them. Anyway.
Like you said, meaningless game, just like you see how the NFL players play the Pro Bowl now. You know, it's like flag football.
You know, I'm like, why even have that game? Just maybe acknowledge some players and not play it.
Yeah, they're probably eliminated eventually. But hey, let's switch gears before we close out.
Okay.
And Brother Larde, when we first started the Full Circle podcast, I didn't even think we'd ever even talk about sports. Not because I don't think sports are important, but because there's so much content already on the internet talking about sports and talking about Tupac and Biggie. You know, I wanted to do something different, right?
Yep.
But although sports is funny, because sports is supposed to be like a fun diversion from, I guess, real life and things that we deal with, paying bills, raising kids, so on and so forth. But as I look at the stories that unfold, you know, with sports, everything seems to have a racial angle, even if you don't want it to. And I'm talking about two things specifically. You and I are both Cleveland Browns fans, but the Browns were in national news just about all year because, for one, Baker Mayfield, you know, some people were saying he was this, he was that. Some people were saying he wasn't the answer. And then there was the issue with him and OBJ. I don't know if they ever had any personal issue, but let's talk about that first. Let's talk about that controversy. It was interesting to me how the opinions seemed to align with race. You know, those who loved Baker, and I supported Baker. You and I used to debate. I supported Baker. You never did. All right. So I supported Baker, but the people that seem to support Baker mostly seem like to be white people. And then the people who did not, who were against, how should I say, who supported OBJ was the African-American community. And the people, the white folks that were against OBJ seemed to say that he was selfish and a diva and he was wanting the ball. And I had never heard any of this. I don't know what went on in the locker room, but I had never heard any of this. It seemed to be just like their perception, you know, of who this guy is or who this guy was. And I want to hear from you and Dr. Holmes. Larde, you're the guest. Let's start with you. What was your take on that?
So for the record, yeah, I was not a Baker fan, right? And it had nothing to do with race.
I know that with you, it was skill.
Because I'm looking at his skill level, and
Right.
his skill level is not up to par. And I can sit on here all day and tell you about his skill level. But I believe that you have to think about your audience first, right? Those are our fans, right? So they cling on to like a player like it's their own personal type thing, right? And Baker, you know, is a white quarterback, right? And most of the white people, and I'm not saying blacks didn't like him at all, I'm just giving some facts. Most white people, they clung like Baker was like their savior. And no matter how he played, right? They know that he has some deficiencies, but they don't want to hear that, right? The only Baker. He's our guy. Baker's our guy. But wait, let's start talking about football. No, he threw 75 touchdowns. Baker's our guy. But wait a minute. You try to explain to them and talk to them about it, right? They have a problem with it, right? Because that's what they got. They're fans. And they weren't a fan of OBJ, right? They were a Baker fan. So naturally, right, there was some division. They're gonna go against the guy who against their man. They're gonna automatically go against him, right? We don't know if Baker and OBJ ever had any tension.
Right.
Well, we do know Baker couldn't throw the ball downfield to get it to him. And when you start telling them that, they don't want to hear that, oh, he's a diva. It's all these excuses about OBJ, but never, confess to the deficiencies that Baker has.
Right.
How much of the narrative is shaped by local sports radio stations and news writers, sports writers?
I would say a lot of it is portrayed in the media. The media, just like I said earlier, when they just keep saying a name, putting a name out there or whatever they put out there, people start believing it. So they were saying negative things about OBJ, right? And they were hyping up Baker Mayfield like he was just some, great quarterback in NFL. And that's the furthest from the truth. And people were taking sides.
Yeah. But in this case, it's interesting. I felt like ESPN, and I'm not one of those guys that sits and watches ESPN all day and all evening, but just the little bit that I saw, they had kind of turned on Baker, and said Baker was nothing. It was mostly the fans, and I'm, just have to say it, mostly the white fans on social media, because I'm on a lot of Cleveland Browns Facebook pages and I interact with people. It was mostly the white fans that thought OBJ was this diva. And then even once he was released, I'm the type of person that I'm a fan of my team, but I understand it's a business, it's entertainment. So if it doesn't work out, I'm not praying for that man's doom when he leaves my team, and a lot of those people were saying, oh, I hope OBJ breaks his legs and do. Hey, I wish him well. It just sometimes a situation just doesn't work out here. And again, the only reason I'm talking about this, because we're a show that caters to our community. It just seemed those opinions seem to align with race. Not always. Of course, you had some blacks who liked Baker. I was one, I liked Baker. I liked OBJ too. I wanted it to work, but I wasn't one of those who said, okay, since I like Baker, OBJ is a diva and he's terrible and he's this, and I hope this happens to him. I just wasn't that. That kind of opinion seemed to fall down racial lines. And let's go. I know we got a little bit of time left. Let's go to the current national news. All right. The Browns have Deshaun Watson, so on paper, it's just great, right? I mean, this guy, 70% completion rate. He did all this for a 4-12 team, just crazy stats. But because of these allegations, he hasn't been proven in court, hasn't been convicted, but because of allegations, I see people on social media, and again, he's mostly getting his support from the African-American community. It's mostly white fans that are saying he's a rapist. And then there's other white fans coming to his defense saying, hey, nothing's been proven, blah, blah, blah. But just that initial attack seems to be coming from a lot of white fans, which I didn't see against Kareem Hunt. I can't recall.
Did not.
I didn't
see a lot against Kareem Hunt as well. No.
Yeah, but I'm seeing that with now Deshaun Watson. What's your take on that?
Well, you got to remember, man, he's taking the place of their savior.
Mm-hmm.
Their savior don't have anywhere to go now. He's not going to be there anymore. Now ESPN started downgrading on Baker, I would say like late in the season a little bit, right? They really start talking about him, right? But Deshaun is replacing their savior. They're not going to look at, his mechanics and compare his stats to Deshaun's stats. And so they're only looking at the negative picture that has been painted by the media, right? And they're believing everything that the media says. Now, the criminal court already said, you're free to go, right? We have no basis here. Well, why are y'all still trying him? Yes, he has some civil things that he has to deal with, but there's no criminal, right? So that means in our court of law, in our criminal justice system, he did not commit a crime.
Right.
But why is he still being tried by certain people?
Right.
I don't understand, man. It's crazy. I read all these, on the internet, all the little blogs and all this, and people write whatever. Baker is this, Baker is our guy. Baker is our guy. Baker is our guy. Baker is our guy. Baker is on his way out the door. Where are you?
Right.
You want a bad dream?
Right.
The new quarterback is here. He's signed with this, the Browns just have to wait and see what happens on the silver side. And then he's gonna be on the field doing what he do. But they won't let it go, man. And it's mostly white people. They have this. It's a racial divide, man. Like for real. But I don't understand why. Because if you just do a comparison, just based solely on skill set, there's no comparison.
Right. And what's funny when you say that, I remember when Baker came in and won the first game for us, we hadn't won in like 30 games, almost 2 years. He replaced a black quarterback, right? Tyrod Taylor.
Yep.
Nobody, no black fans complained. We was like, this guy is, because we thought he was our guy. We didn't care that he was white.
Right.
He came in, he won that game. And like, as you know, I was riding with him, and I rode with him a little longer than everybody else, but I never cared about skin color. It's just like, I'm a fan of my team and I want my team to win. And it's just interesting to me that not everyone takes that stance.
But Dave, you have to understand, right? It's deeper than that. Most of these people, I don't know them. I haven't talked to them personally. I know nothing about them. But if I had to bet, I'm willing to bet you it's deeper than that, right? This is probably something that's within them that's already been there. It don't matter about, because it's the Browns and the quarterback and the running back and the wide receiver. This is something that's embedded in who they are as a person. And it takes certain events for it to come out. You know, you remember that last person you had up in that White House?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's deep, man. It's deep because certain events will trigger that behavior.
Right.
Certain things will trigger that behavior.
Right.
And it just comes out. Like, really?
You're right.
And there's no try, and there's you can say whatever you want to say to those folks, right? You're not gonna change their mind.
You're right about that. Well, listen, I want to end on a positive note, you know. So again, let's I know you mentioned it already. Why don't you give us your website?
Sure.
Tell us how people can get in touch with you,
Yep.
and tell us when the next combine is coming up.
Yep. So my website is rl2combines.com. That's the letter R, the letter L, the number 2, combines with an S.com.
All right.
And I have the schedule on the website. I believe the first one is May 14th in California.
Okay.
And we go all the way through the end of June. If you want to reach me, you can call me by phone at 404-697-9227. And if you go to the website, I have an email address on there as well. It's admin@rl2combines.com. That's admin@rl2combines.com.
All right, well, Brother Richard, Lord, I want to thank you for joining us, brother. And you know, again, as always, it was a pleasure. And good luck with the combines, man. Keep working with them youth, brother.
Well, thank you, David. Thank you, Dr. Neal. I appreciate you having me on the show, and looking forward to catching up with you guys.
Lord, yes, papi, hit me one time and make it funky.
I was brought up and told to have no fear.